welcome in to the CHGO White Sox post-game show, coming to you live from our homes in Chicago. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. Alongside me, the full CHGO White Sox crew. Down there is Vinny Duber, our CHGO White Sox beat writer. You can follow him at Vinny Duber. You could read his latest at allchgo.com. The man that's typically in the middle is Herb Lawrence.
Hello.
You can follow him at Ecknerwall23. He's our CHGO White Sox community leader. And you can follow the show at CHGO_White Sox. You can follow me at Sean_W_Anderson. And reunited, and it feels so good. It's Mr. Hockey. I mean,
Mr. Football. Ooh, I'm blocked.
Stephen Nicholas. Howdy.
Hey.
Getting around the logo down there. We are excited to be here with you for this post-game for the Chicago White Sox loss to the Cleveland Guardians in 10 innings. The Sox lose 7-6. They had a 5-0 lead. Herb, did you take the Guardians when the Sox had the 5-0 lead?
I didn't. I literally went outside. I had to walk my dog. Ziggy had to be walked. So I was just on the phone watching the game on my app. And so I couldn't really get to the other apps to bet on the Cleveland Guardians. But I had already lost the 25 last night. I didn't want to lose another 25, but I would have cashed in tonight. That would suck.
Yep. I mean, the strategy now shows you that, even if you wagered 50, I mean, it would have been like a $60 win last night. I mean, I think the math plays out to where, it's a positive strategy. So don't let Beefloaf, shake tried and true off of you. I know you were able to switch over to Twitter to slander Andrew Benintendi. I know I will definitely make time for that a little later on. But Vinny did write a piece up at All CHGO, which will be the main topic first, about Yoan Moncada's leg injury. We heard from the White Sox today that Moncada will hit the 10-day IL with a left adductor strain, a grade 3 left adductor strain. Oscar Colas is replacing him on the 26-man roster. And the projected timeline for Moncada's injury is 3 to 6 months. And there was a video posted by Daryl Van Schouwen from Cleveland where Moncada, through Billy Russo, said it felt like something broke, which is brutal, as we said yesterday. Vinny, what did you make of it? And obviously, what can people get a sense of over at allchgo.com?
I mean, it remains kind of what I was saying yesterday, which is it's shocking the condensed time frame in which the White Sox have lost both Luis Robert Jr. and Yoan Moncada to what seem to be pretty significant injuries for the both of them, even though one of them has a far greater projected recovery time, Moncada more so than Robert. And then you throw in Eloy Jimenez being on the IL at the same time. Then the numbers 2, 3, 4 hitters out of the lineup after 11 games of the season. That is, it's shocking. Even though these guys have gone through these kind of things way too often in their career, that is the surprising element. And then talk about a surprise, guys. That might have been the last game Yoan Moncada will play in a White Sox uniform. Obviously, he has the expensive team option coming up for next year, $25 million, which might not have been very likely to be picked up anyway, given the state that the team is in. But now he's just not really going to be able to do anything, at least enough of anything, to warrant them paying that in really any regard. So if it does end up going the whole 6 week or the 6 months rather, that it is the upper end, the upper extreme of that window, he's going to be out for the season, and he probably will not be playing for the White Sox again.
And when Daryl Van Schouwen from Sun Times released the video that he filmed out in Cleveland with Yoan and Billy Russo speaking, it just saw the sadness in Yoan's eyes, probably knowing that this is going to be a prolonged months-long injury. And then, like you just said, Vinny, maybe his last White Sox game was yesterday. And so that's very sad to see. No matter what you think about Yoan Moncada, et cetera, it's a person. It's a human. And I want people to realize that, at the end of the day, he's not wanting to get hurt, and this is his livelihood. And I know he makes a lot of money, but still, this is what he does for a living. And there's no more contract after this year for the White Sox. And so he has to go out and find another contract. So feels a little sorry for the guy. I think he does prove it that he puts his body on the line for the team. Last year, I didn't want him to play at all with that back problem. It's like back problems don't heal themselves. But he gutted through that season on a bad team and had an improved second half. And he was dealing with the injury yesterday before he actually got hurt. So, have a little compassion, a little empathy for the guy. I feel sorry for him. And I'm sad that he's going to be gone for that long of a time.
It's very surprising that we're kind of looking back on Yoan Moncada's career here, only 11 games into the season, right? I mean, or now 12 after tonight, but it really did almost feel like it had some finality to it, right? I mean, we obviously have to wait and see. He could be back on the field, by August or whatever. The timeline would allow for that. But if it reaches the upper end, we're talking about kind of looking back on Yoan Moncada's White Sox career. And Herb, you kind of mentioned that he's, or you alluded to rather that he's been a pretty big flashpoint for fans. There's been a lot of people who, like yourself, have always kind of clung to the potential and said, wow, if this guy can get it together, if he can stay healthy consistently, imagine what he can do. And there have been a lot of people who have been very quick to jump on him, not just because of the injuries, because certainly he has teammates who warrant that reaction as well. But, there's always so much talk about kind of what he looks like playing out there, whether it's just the way he moves his body, the way that his face looks when he's playing the game. And, I think that it's important to bring up that a lot of people close to the team talk about him as a team guy. A lot of people close to the team know that he's playing through stuff. And I even included in my piece today, Sean, that you alluded to, a quote from him in 2021, all the way back in 2021. I think it was from June of that year when I was down in Houston covering that 4-game series that they got swept in against the team they eventually played that year in the playoffs. And you had Yoan Moncada saying, I don't feel 100%, but I have to play. The team needs me to be out there and do something, anything to help the team win, especially when there were guys in that season, Eloy Jimenez being one of them, Luis Robert Jr. being one of them, who were out for extended periods of time. So he got a bad rap from a certain segment of the fan base, I think. And obviously, hopefully, he can recover quick enough where there is one more glimpse of him in a White Sox uniform rather than this being the final image.
And because someone mentioned that I was lectury on yesterday's episode, I will make sure that I'm not too lectury here. Okay, I'm just giving my opinion. You're welcome to your thoughts. And if you want to be like White Sox Tom and say Moncada was lazy and it showed, feel free. But I find it very fitting that Yoan Moncada went out in that game. Prior, Pedro Grifol said he's playing through soreness, so we knew he wasn't at 100%. The game before, he stole second base, which usually takes some amount of hustle. Nicky Lopez, everyone's favorite hustler, is 0 for 4 at stolen bases. So, I mean, Yoan Moncada showed that he still had juice in that body and still had that hustle. And he was also trying to beat out a tough throw from Jose Ramirez. Ramirez was going into foul territory, going the other way of first base, had to make a throw on the dot to Naylor, and he's hustling out of the box, trying to get to first, trying to bust out that infield single, and he's not even able to make it to the bag because his body just gives out on him. Like, it's, again, I don't know where people are getting the idea that he's lazy. If that's your opinion, whatever. But only 62 players since 2018 have put up a career 14 or higher FWAR. Moncada's one of those people. Did he live up to the $75 million contract? No. But when you saw him in the World Baseball Classic in 2023, he looked like one of the best players in the entire tournament. And then he was the best player for the Sox in that opening Astro series. And then his body gives out on him. And then Herb, like you mentioned, he's playing through back pain, but from August to the end of the year, he was the best hitter on the Sox, or, maybe up there with Luis Robert Jr. So I'm really saddened for the person, because it seemed like he was on the precipice of busting out and having another big season. A 128 weighted runs created plus before the adductor strain yesterday, and it seemed like this was going to be a year like 2021 or 2019 where he was able to get 130, 140 plus games, and we were going to see a defensively in tune third baseman and a very competent hitter from both sides of the plate. And it's just frustrating for him. I mean, obviously everyone dreams of, oh, hey, one day I'll make it to the majors. Here he is in the majors. He gets a huge contract, and you think it just wants to stop all there? Like, everyone wants to build a legacy, and I think it's just unfortunate for the player. We'll see where his career holds from here, but I don't think the White Sox are in his future. I think some competitive team will take a chance on Yoan Moncada. Maybe it's not to the tune of $25 million a year, but I definitely think that, even seeing what Tim Anderson got this year, he'll get a major league contract, and he'll be someone starting third baseman next year for some amount of money. All right. Let's end it there. We'll take a quick break. Again, it's brutal that it's 3 to 6 months. Maybe we'll see him in August, but it really does feel like the end of the era. Does anyone have a favorite Moncada moment before we wrap this up? Because I don't want to end too early. 10 minutes here. I went to his debut game against the Dodgers. Everyone was giving him the standing ovation. Vinny, you were covering it there for the media.
I was there in the stands that night.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Anything prevalent from that moment?
I mean, I remember the standing ovation on the walk in his first plate appearance. I think I went back to it today to look exactly what it was. He went down 0-2, and then I believe that at bat ended up going 9 pitches. And so I think there were some foul balls in there that were getting as big of cheers as, White Sox wins from earlier in that season, just because he was the first one to arrive, right? He was the first one of those guys who Rick Hahn acquired in all those trades in 2016 and 2017. He makes it up there. And, I think that people were really excited and people were like, we forget, because of maybe for all of the frustration, but people really bought in to that rebuild, the first time around. And I think that was a promise or that was partially, the very small amount of that fulfilled promise is like, oh, look, that guy's here. One of those guys that we've been talking about, they're here. So I remember how excited that crowd was that night. And it's obviously been a very different journey since, but yeah, that was a memorable moment.
I had to look it up. I think it was 2017. He had a walk-off winner in the 11th inning. I think it was versus the Reds. I'm not sure, but the guy was just a solid hitter, decent defense. Like you saw the other day, he made 2 errors where I thought that he should have made both of those plays. But when he's on, he's one of the best third basemen in the game. And that 21 season, like I said, he's a top 7 third baseman. And still that year, people are giving him crap for not being the guy that he was expected to be. I think he's more of a product of people's expectations. While we're talking about somebody starting off so hot, like 2019 got people's minds going for Yoan Moncada because he was supposed to be an MVP candidate every year. And then 2020, he got COVID, and then he was dealing with that for a little bit. And then his career never really took off where it's supposed to be. And so people are mad at the career not doing what it's supposed to do, and then they take it out on the person too. So I am sad that the person and the player is not going to be a White Sox probably anymore. But yeah, he provided some thrills for White Sox fans. No doubt about that.
And then Jim,
I got one for you.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I got one for you. Here's a moment for you. July 3rd, 2019. Sox go to extra innings against the Tigers. They give up the lead, or they give up the lead to Detroit in the top of the 10th. Moncada hits a game-tying home run off of then Detroit all-star-ish closer Shane Green, and that sends the game spiraling further. I believe Jose Abreu gets the walk-off in the bottom of the 12th. That was the second game of a doubleheader on July 3rd. The next day, if memory serves, was Dylan Cease's Major League debut, or maybe that was Dylan Cease's Major League debut. Let's see. This is thrilling radio, I'm sure.
I could step in if you need me to look. I got something that
you
I can
go
share.
right
Right,
Dylan
cool.
Cease made his Major League debut somewhere in there.
All right, good fact there. At some point, Dylan Cease made his Major League debut. Our guy Jim in this chat saying, I want to say in 2017, he homered from both sides of the plate against KC. That was the glimpse of the potential I thought we were going to get. Vinny.
Yes.
All right. Who did Yoan Moncada hit his first home run? Oh, wait, no, this is the same game. This is the same game we're talking about. July 3rd, 2019.
There you go.
He homers from both sides of the plate against Detroit, not KC there, but he homers off of Tyler Alexander and Shane Green. Oh, wow. What a coincidence. Oh, that's crazy. Huh? All right.
And Dylan Cease started the first game of that doubleheader. That was his Major League debut.
Ross Detweiler pitched in this game. Man, where's Ross Detweiler? He can give him starting pitching innings probably still. Anyways, Yoan Moncada, hopefully you won't be missed. I would love to see him just even in September, like just see if he could return. I'm not against him playing for the Sox again in 2024. It just seems unlikely when it's 3 to 6 months and you just see again, like Herb brought up the video from Cleveland, and he just looks fairly upset. We're going to take a break. We're going to let you know about some of our partners, and then we'll get into this crazy game that the White Sox lost 7 to 6 in 10 innings, where they blow a 5-0 lead. We want to let you know about our partners over at Lucy. They're made for your nicotine routine and delivered straight to your door, and they're made of 100% pure nicotine, and they're always tobacco free. You could choose your form, whether it's pouches, breakers, or gum. They think their Lucy breakers are the product that sets them apart. They're pouches that have a tiny capsule inside, and the capsule contains a liquid flavor that saturates the pouch even before it's in use, and you could break it with your teeth, get it situated, and boom, an instant nicotine release when you need it. And they have flavors like mint, apple ice, espresso, mango, and more. And you could save yourself from the weekly gas station stop and sign up for a monthly subscription. You could save 15% off, and there's no commitment. You can cancel at any time. So head over to lucy.co to level up your nicotine routine with Lucy. Head over to lucy.co/CHGOSOX and use promo code CHGOSOX to get 20% off your first order. Lucy offers free shipping and has a 30-day refund policy if you change your mind. That's Lucy, LUCY.co, and use code CHGOSOX to get 20% off. And as always, free shipping. And here comes the fine print. Lucy products are only for adults of legal age, and every order is age verified. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
I don't know if you guys been outside the last couple of days, but
Nice.
It is officially summer, which means that it is officially shandy season. And so the fine folks at Leinenkugel's, they make a very delicious tasting beer called Summer Shandy. And you should go drink it because it's the best beer to have during the wonderfully warm months of the summer. So go ahead, go pick up a 6er, a 12er, a 24er, or maybe they come in like 96 these days of Summer Shandy wherever you can. You like to go down to the Jewels and grab one from the big display. It's the perfect beer for a summer activity. Maybe you're going to the lake for a picnic, or the rate for a tailgate. Maybe you're going up to Wisconsin and paddle around in a canoe. Nothing better than having a Summer Shandy. What? You want to try some of the other varieties? Well, of course, Leinenkugel's has those as well. There's Berry Weiss, Honey Weiss, made with real Wisconsin honey. There's the Sunset Wheat. There's the Lakeside Cherry. There's the Leinie's Original, which you can get north of the border. North of the Illinois-Wisconsin border, of course, is what I'm referring to. It's the latest in wonderful Wisconsin innovation, which has brought us cheese curds and indoor water parks and so many fine things. So go ahead and flavor life's simple moments with Leinenkugel's, the official craft beer of the Chicago White Sox. Go to Leinie.com/CHGO to find delivery options near you. That's LEINIE.com/CHGO, or pick up Leinenkugel's pretty much anywhere they sell beer. Leinenkugel's, flavor the moment, celebrate responsibly. The Jacob Leinenkugel Brewing Company, Chippewa Falls.
Yes. I got to give one shout out to our guy, John Triffin. He's getting his feet wet, 12th game with the White Sox, and he's got a little hawk in him. I mean, there's a couple wheeze in there. There's my favorite where there's a high strike on Nicky Lopez, and it's clearly a high strike, and he just lets out, come on. And it's like, whoa, where is this coming from? And then also a little stab at Emmanuel Clase. Emmanuel Clase comes out to Fireman by Lil Wayne. And then in the 9th inning, not Lenyn Sosa, it's Nicky Lopez. He bunts right to Clase. Clase fumbles the ball, isn't able to make the play. And then John Triffin's like, Lil Wayne couldn't pump him up for that one. Like, John's got a little bite to him, Herb. Where's this coming from?
I like it. A little personality. That's what you need. He's being ingratiated with the team. He's, when you go on those team trips, you feel a little bit more like you are part of the team. You should. And that's good. That's going to ingratiate him with both the team and with the White Sox fans.
Hey, I mean, he had one comment where, Corey Lee is a budding star, and he said that about Gavin Sheets, and hey, maybe he goes 1 for 2. I don't know about Corey Lee being a budding star. I'd take it. I'm not saying he can. Hey, I don't want to put a cap on him, but Gavin Sheets looking real nice. This is a 5 RBI game from Gavin Sheets, and our pal Connor in the chat says, you hate losing a game where Gavin Sheets has 5 RBIs, though it's the second time the White Sox have done it. Also on August 30th, 2022 versus Kansas City. Is Gavin Sheets a star, Herb Lawrence?
I don't know if he's a star, but you can obviously tell he's done some work in the offseason to put bat to ball, and he's not just putting it to bat to ball. He's stinging these balls. The home run he hit was a no-doubter, immediately gone. He even took some time to admire the shot. And then that double he had in the 10th inning just stung that thing. And he's going against real tough pitchers. Like Eli Morgan gave the White Sox fits for years. And he's not doing so well early in this year, but that ball that he hit, that Gavin hit for the double to start the game off with, I know I had the graphic a little earlier. The ball is pretty much at the bottom of the zone. If you're looking on YouTube, you could see it. It's at the bottom of the zone. It's a filthy slider. So it's a pretty nice pitch by Tanner Beebe. And Gavin just crushes that ball. Like, he has learned something. I know he worked some with Jim Thome in the offseason, so there's no better lefty to give you some pointers in the White Sox history than Jim Thome. And if he's learning a little bit from Jim Thome, I like that. I like that he's sought out this man, and he's getting some of that information and putting that information into game action and really crushing balls right now.
It's going to take a deeper conversation with Gavin probably now this weekend when the White Sox come home, so I can fill you in on exactly what he has been working on and what changed. But man, the results are looking good. I mean, for a team that has just really struggled to score through at least the first 10 games of the season. Last two nights have been a little better in the run department, but he's a guy who has really stood out. And you know, if you looked at this lineup tonight, you know, now that Moncada and Robert and Eloy are all out of it, you would have been like, who could have called this? Who could have called something looking like this really at any point this season, let alone in game 12? But Sheets sitting there at the 3 spot is not a bad thing for these White Sox right now, because he is hitting the ball really well. We were wondering where the playing time was going to come for Gavin Sheets, right? Because with the emphasis they put on defense in the offseason, they're not putting him back in the outfield. Eloy Jimenez was supposed to take up all the DH at-bats. You know, Andrew Vaughn supposed to take up all the at-bats at first base. Where was Gavin going to play? Probably very sporadically. Now, Pedro has one of those good problems that they all love to have so much, good problem on his hand, and trying to figure out when Eloy comes back, which should be relatively soon, where is Gavin going to play? Because he should be playing pretty much every day now. We still see a little bit of hesitancy to put him in there against the left-handed pitchers, but as long as he keeps hitting like this, he's going to get a chance to face those guys, which he never did really before in the last few seasons. So it's going to be interesting, I think, to see how does Gavin continue to get the opportunity, and can he continue to capitalize on it? What did we talk about last night with these guys being out? We hearkened back to 2021 and said, you know, remember, you know, Jake Lamb and Brian Goodwin and Billy Hamilton stepping up when all those injuries happened in 2021. The White Sox, you know, are not expected to be division contenders like they were that year, but that next man up, sometimes it actually works. And if Gavin can be the guy to turn in that kind of surprise performance this year, not only will that be very good for him, but it'll be good for the team as well.
Yeah, John Triffin mentioned on the broadcast that Gavin said he's trying to be less in his head at the plate and be more athletic and just more reacting to balls. And Herb, at bat you're bringing up against BB, that pitch isn't down enough, right? It's just barely at the bottom of the zone, and he's just reacting anything down and in. I'm just going to pull, and it's great to see. It's great to see that confidence. We talked about that confidence with Michael Kopech on the mound, and it seems like Gavin has that confidence at the plate. We saw a huge spring training from him, and it does seem like that's carrying over, which is exciting. Let's talk a little bit about the lineup and playing time. Can Gavin knock out Vaughn at first base to be the starting first baseman if he's hitting this well? And also, too, I find it odd, especially in the 9th inning. I didn't think, much of it before. So, hey, maybe it's just in the moment, a little bit too much overthinking for me. But Clase comes in for the Guardians. Braden Shoemake gets pinched hit for Paul DeYoung. Paul DeYoung hits a double, again, down and in, just similar to that Gavin Sheets pitch, except it's a 97-mile-per-hour cutter from Emmanuel Clase, and I have no idea how Paul DeYoung hits this into the gap for a double, but he does because he's a Major League hitter, and he's an Illinois Redbird, or Illinois State Redbird, Stephen Nicholas. And
That's
then,
right.
Obviously, yeah, there's the error from Clase, which allows Lopez to get to first base. And then there's the Grossman double play. People are frustrated that DeYoung doesn't run home. Rocchio picks up the ball, steps on second, turns his back to third base. Steve Stone mentioned on the broadcast, DeYoung should have went home. Rocchio's able to turn the double play. DeYoung stays at third base, and then Sosa ends up grounding out. You see the huge contributions from Gavin Sheets. Andrew Vaughn apparently is the first baseman, no questions doubted from, you shaking your head, Vinny. And then the $75 million man, Andrew Benintendi's batting fifth. I find it surprising that two guys who were not in the plans on opening day by game 12, even with all these injuries, are the 1 and 2 hitter. Robbie Grossman's been pretty good. He's gotten on at a really good clip. He's walking a ton. Has had some singles. Sosa has had 2 doubles, I think. But I mean, I really don't understand, especially with the righty on the mound, why Benintendi's not batting leadoff. And I understand the results aren't good. I wouldn't have paid him $75 million. But does anyone else have these feelings that the lineup was a little bit weird?
I mean, I think at this point, after your 3 best hitters, not necessarily by statistics, but the guys you thought were going to be your 3 best hitters are out of the lineup, you really just kind of got to shuffle things up. I mean, yeah, Andrew Benintendi is not a 5-spot hitter, but also, you had to move your 5-spot hitter up, not just to the 4 spot, but to the 3 spot basically as well. It's not something that I think is an easy fix right now. I think really anything that Pedro can come up with right now is not going to look great, because not only are these a bunch of guys in spots where they weren't supposed to be because of the injuries, but there are a bunch of guys who haven't really produced through the first 2 weeks of the season either. So Benintendi is having a real tough go of things right now. And I think whether you put him anywhere 1 through 9, he would look out of place because he's not looking very capable at the moment. But really, I don't know if you can gripe with putting him one place over another at this point, because it's just not happening anywhere.
Yeah, I know, Sean, you're the resident Andrew Benintendi hater, but today I'm going to be the guy.
Great.
Oh my God.
Vinny, you got your liney? You get ready to drink? What is this? It's only when I bring up Andrew Benintendi that we're drinking here. Let's have Herb
because
drive
that's
to
because that's the bit.
Okay. All right. Well, Herb's stealing my bit. Continue.
I mean, he's a left-handed hitter. The leadoff, they get a guy on second base to, I think it was the 8th inning, and all he has to do is hit the ball to the right side of the field on the ground, either in the outfield or in the infield. All he has to do, he strikes out. Like, he's getting paid the most of any White Sox player. And as Vinny says, and we agree with, he's not going to be sat down for poor performance. He has 3+ years left on his contract, so he won't be sat down for poor performance. So it's very sad he failed there. He gets a reprieve in the 10th. Same exact situation. Strikes out again. Like, these are not, and they're not like strikeout pitchers. Like, it was Eli Morgan out there. You just needed that run for like insurance. You needed to just drive in somebody. Just put the ball on the ground. In that situation, put the ball in the air on the right side. He can do that whenever it's not, a situation where a guy's on second base. But tonight was one of the worst games that I've seen a batter have when a situation called for something different. He failed twice. Like, how do you not learn from the first time and just say, hey, man, whatever goes down? I know batting's hard, and me speaking about it seems kind of odd, but you're a professional. You're supposed to put bat to ball, and in that situation, do whatever you need to do. If in that situation you wanted to bunt, even though I hate it, do it. You had a job to do, and you failed miserably in both of those spots. And so, yeah, when Eloy comes back, I hope Pedro says, we're going with this meritocracy. If you're not hitting Andrew Benintendi, sorry, we got to play Eloy, because we know if he's healthy, more than likely he's going to be hitting. And Gavin's out here being Gavin Bonds, so he's not sitting down. And the same thing with Andrew Vaughn. You're not hitting, you can be sat for multiple games and work your way back into the lineup. But I want that information, that type of energy to be in that White Sox clubhouse where Andrew Benintendi gets sat, because he failed miserably today. It wasn't failing because he was, doing too much. He failed because he didn't get the job done, a simple job. I'm not asking him to open the game up with a home run. I'm not asking him to drive in that run. I'm asking him to put back the ball to the right side of the infield. Easy, simple. And he failed both times.
I think the current roster is very odd as well, because it does seem crowded with Shoemake, DeYoung, Lopez, Sosa. You have Sheets, Benintendi, Grossman, now Oscar Colas, along with Fletcher and Vaughn. Is there a way that you get creative and you put Andrew Vaughn at third base? Like, are we this desperate? I mean, I I don't know. Like, are we this desperate where Gavin Sheets gets time in right field? Is first base Andrew Vaughn's spot? I kind of want to go there because Herb, we just brought up yesterday that Joe Collier's reporting that, Jerry Reinsdorf is not going to eat dead money for a coach, even if he has a fireable season. They're not going to bench Andrew Benintendi, who they're paying $17.5 million and has 3 years remaining. They're not going to eat out that contract. Like, they're stuck with him. Like, they're not. What can they do? They can't bench him. They have to play him, because if they bench him, they're getting a call from Jerry Reinsdorf office saying, "Hey, why is this guy not playing? Is he hurt? Oh, okay, I don't understand that. Pinch hit and let's get him in the game." Like, Benintendi has to be their guy because they signed that contract. I mean, they're chained to him.
And not only that, you got to remember the reason, or one of them, but one among the reasons that they signed him to that contract was they believed in him as a reliable presence, right? They weren't expecting him to come in and hit home runs in any great number, but they were expecting him to do what he had done throughout his career. And you can argue whether that was deserving of that level of money. But the point being that he showed that he was dependable in doing the things that the team wanted him to do. Certainly Pedro believes in Benintendi as a guy who can do the things that he wants to see this team do, which is why, Herb, it's a great point you brought up that in a situation where a productive out would have been necessary, would have been, a positive. Why didn't he bunt? The guy's hitting so poorly right now, and yet we always hear that he can do all of these things. A bunt would have been perfectly reasonable thing to see from Andrew Benintendi, not just in that situation, but in others while he's kind of mired in this right now. The only thing I can think of is he was batting fifth today and not leadoff, and maybe that, is a spot in the lineup where you're not supposed to do that. But but I digress. I don't think there's any chance that Andrew Benintendi's sitting down. I don't really think there's much of a chance that Andrew Vaughn would ever be sat down for any significant thing. I mean, these are the guys that they have kind of pegged as guys that they build around. I mean, and certainly those two, to use the example, they're not Moncada or Eloy, where they're done with this team after the season, potentially, based, depending on what the decisions are. Those guys are here for multiple years to come. And so I think there's way more value in having them figure things out than there is in winning a game tomorrow. To be, or not tomorrow, they're off, but you know what I mean? But, to be particularly honest with you, I don't think anybody would ever phrase it that way, but I think that that's the way that it probably is in reality. It's an interesting, situation to discuss, but I think Sheets seeing time in the outfield is probably more likely, once Eloy comes back than, all right, we're going to do some sort of weird cycle where you get some playing time here, Vaughn gets some playing time there. I just think they'd rather have all those guys playing at once. I mean, Eloy Jimenez is an outfielder, kind of, maybe. I mean, is that a thing? Like, I'm kind of surprised we're having this discussion after everything that's gone down, and particularly after Chris Getch just said defense over and over again in the offseason. So that obviously would be a departure from that idea. But if Gavin Sheets is the only guy driving in runs, maybe you need to change that a little bit.
Yeah, we'll ask after the break. Basically, of the three, who would you most want to see in the outfield of Eloy, Vaughn, and Sheets? Is basically who's the easiest pill to swallow there? We want to let you know about our partners over at PrizePicks, though. PrizePicks is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America, and they are the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS. It's just you against the numbers, and instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. With spring training over and baseball season officially underway, don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond into your PrizePick entries like Gavin Sheets. And whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs, take your pick of more or less and add them to your PrizePick entry today and get in on the playoff action and win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks as you and the world's best players take the game to a new level during basketball's postseason. Playoff begins April 20th with the play-in round April 16th, 17th, and 19th. And the Bulls are play-in bound. So if you are looking to elevate the way that you watch and maybe put an entry on while the play-in game is there, and you can follow the Bulls and only the Bulls, head over to prizepicks.com, and PrizePicks has something for every sports fan, from baseball and basketball to League of Legends and everything in between. You can pick from LeBron, Shohei, Connor McDavid, and Jude Bellingham, all in the same entry. So head over to prizepicks.com/CHGO and check out the fun and use code CHGO for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/CHGO and use code CHGO. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
Charlie the Bacon Guy is based out of Woodridge, Illinois, and he makes craft bacon and bacon jams for over 35 different flavors. Bacon and bacon jams are all naturally cured, preservative-free products. No ingredients that Charlie can't pronounce himself are involved in the process, unlike most other store-bought bacon like ethorabate and sodium asorabate, for example. They're vacuum sealed and freeze perfectly. Bacon lasts up to 60 days in the package, in the fridge, and 1 week after the seal is broken, and 9 months in the refrigerator. The bacon jam lasts about 90 days in the fridge and up to a year in the freezer. But if you're keeping bacon in the freezer for that long, you're doing it wrong. And come check out what Charlie has on his website with beanies, hats, t-shirts, stickers, coffee mugs, etc. The bacon jam goes perfectly on everything. You can put it on scrambled eggs, toast, crackers, burgers, grilled cheese, charcuterie boards, cinnamon rolls, pizza, or Charlie's favorite, the spoon. And Charlie has a bacon vault. It's got all the flavors he's made in the past. If it's not currently available on his website, give Charlie about 2 weeks and he'll make it for you. Some of the flavors that are live right now are ranch rosemary, vanilla bourbon, maple espresso, Cajun, jardinera, Canadian bacon, which is a new item. And the bacon flavors are original, bourbon, cherry jalapeno. And starting now, you could save 10% of your order at charliethebaconguy.com when you use the code CHGOSOX at checkout. You can pick it up, which is the most efficient way for you, or he can deliver it to you, meet you halfway, or even ship it to you. He makes the bacon so you can bring it home. Follow Charlie on Instagram at CharlieTheBaconGuy or on Twitter, CZTheBaconGuy. Email is charliethebaconguy@gmail.com or his website, as Steven's scrolling on right now, is www.charliethebaconguy.com.
Go check him out too, because it's April 10th and we got a kind of a late start on Charlie's April competition. He's trying to figure out, which show can sell the most bacon. And if you haven't tried Charlie the Bacon Guy's bacon yet, head over to the website, buy some bacon. Make sure you're using the Sox code that Herb just gave out. Truly, it is the best bacon that I've ever had. Those flavors do deliver. He made Malort feel, palatable, and even not even palatable, but delicious.
It tastes like bacon.
It tastes like bacon, and who doesn't love bacon? And two, Greg of the CHGO Blackhawk show mentioned that they ordered a gift for one of their friends that was going through, some health issues, and Charlie drove from like Woodridge to Elgin or something like that to deliver it. So Charlie is always going to be helping out his customers, and he is a top-notch guy. When he came into the CHGO offices, that was truly, I think, a banner day over the past 3 years of working there. Probably a Mount Rushmore day when you walk up those stairs and the whole entire office smells like bacon. So check out
2 days.
Our guy Charlie. Yeah, for literally 2 days, 2 delicious days. So head over to Charlie's website and give him some love. All right. So again, a little bit of a sloppy roster at this point. Out of the three, who is most likely to play the outfield? Because I think it's likely that versus a righty, you would see an outfield of Grossman, Fletcher, and Sheets, right? Like, or do you bench Vaughn for first base if you're going up against a righty?
You're forgetting Mr. Benintendi, who you just said is not going to be sat down. I do think the Sheets.
And he's going up against a righty, but he was better last year against lefties. Like, I don't know.
I do think that Sheets is the answer to your question, because I do not see any circumstance in which they put Andrew Vaughn in the outfield again. I don't think that worked. I think that was detrimental to the player. I think that was just that they don't want that to happen again. Eloy Jimenez has, used to be an outfielder, you'll recall. But I think if you were to, he's already got an injury issue already this year. And I mean, that was the idea more so than making the routine plays, which he did fairly well. Actually, it was the idea that he was causing himself health problems by being out there. I don't think anybody's going to say that Gavin Sheets is going to come out and win a Gold Glove playing right field. That being said, who's the best defender of those three guys, and who is the perhaps least harmful to themselves of those three guys by playing right field on a somewhat regular basis? I think it's got to be Gavin Sheets.
Yeah,
but that doesn't make it. A great idea.
No, I mean, I know Gavin, if he's playing like this, has to be in the lineup. And if it's in right field, I'll deal with it because the bat is too good to be sitting him down. I'll take a right fielder who can't really do what typical right fielders do. He's got the all right arm. His tracking skills are all right. He, as you said, Vinny, he won't hurt himself, like physically hurt himself out there in the field. So that's good. So, yeah, he's got to play, whether it's designated hitter, which Eloy will probably be taking up most of those at-bats, or in the field at first base or right field. So get him in the game. If you want to sit him versus lefties, so be it. But I got to have that man, how he's doing right now, in the lineup.
Yeah, I think the idea of Andrew Vaughn maybe losing playing time is interesting. Maybe you keep him as fresh as possible that way too. Tony La Russa is still around, so maybe there is some influence to get him to play second base. I'm for it. I don't know about the Braden Shoemake experience at this point. Shoemake didn't help out Fedde, and this is kind of where the game fell apart. In the 6th inning, there's an error by Shoemake. Fedde gets the ground ball going up the middle. Shoemake is there, but he is not able to get the ball in his glove, and the runner reaches at first. Then there's a walk by Fedde, another walk by Fedde, also a pitch clock violation thrown in there. And then we see my guy, Tanner Banks. He Ks Josh Naylor, and then he hits David Fry to tie the game up at 5-5. And then there's a double play for Brian Rocchio. But right there, all of that trouble starts with the botch by Shoemake. So, do we see a little less playing time for Shoemake? Especially the one name that we haven't brought up with this whole outfield situation is the guy who was just brought up today, ends up pinch hitting in the 8th inning, Oscar Colas. This is a guy that they think highly of, or at least thought highly enough of last year to be the starting right fielder in the opening day roster in 2023. Do they not give him playing time? Does he knock out Fletcher? I mean, do you have such a devotion to Robbie Grossman at this point? It seems like Pilar is really just a bench guy and a possible pinch runner at this point. Like, how do we see playing time develop? First, let's start with Shoemake and what's relative to the game. We could build on Colas, not only today, but a little bit on the off day tomorrow.
I think that, and I think somebody in the comments talked about it, I think it was a mistake to have Fedde back in the 6th inning, even though he did induce that ground ball. I think it was off Jose Ramirez's bat. Shoemake, yeah, he's got to make that play. It's pretty routine play. I think all the 3 errors that Shoemake has made are pretty routine and frustrating to say it lightly. But if we're talking about if Oscar Colas maybe would get playing time over Dominic Fletcher, I don't know. I mean, literally, I talked about Dominic Fletcher the other day where this is Chris Getz's one of his first acquisitions, especially, he has to make this guy probably a everyday center fielder or right fielder because Christian Mena, the person he gave away, people are complaining about him. So Oscar Colas, while probably has more of a potential and a higher ceiling than what Dominic Fletcher is, it's not his guy. It's not Chris Getz's guy. So there's has no allegiance to him. It has no loyalty towards him. So I would say that if anybody would be safe in that outfield position, it would be definitely Andrew Benintendi. But I think Dominic Fletcher will be playing majority of the center field going forward from here on out. But I would be not averse to Oscar Colas getting those at-bats because they were high on him last year. And I know he had some knucklehead stuff in 2023, but the baseball player that they thought was good is still in there somewhere. And hopefully they can unlock him, and they need more lefty power. So if he can do a little bit better what Dominic Fletcher is doing right now, I'm all in for it. And he plays, as I think Matthew Cortese says, an all right center field too.
I don't think we've seen the last of Oscar Colas getting regular playing time for this team, but I don't think we're going to see it right now. I think he's here because of the injuries, and he's here because they needed another position player. I don't think that his return, one might call it, to the big league level is something that spells, okay, we're ready to give this guy another shot. I think it's, oh man, Moncada went on the IL, Eloy went on the IL, Robert went on the IL. We got to get somebody up here to take this roster spot. But that being said, I think down the road somewhere he will get some regular time again. But it's a good question. And Herb, I think your point about Dominic Fletcher is probably a good one. I was going to bring up the fact that we basically saw what we thought looked like a platoon from day one when Kevin Pillar was the opening day right fielder for this team. But you're right, Sean. All of a sudden, Kevin Pillar is just in there to basically pinch run. It looks like Robbie Grossman is playing well and hitting well, and so or getting on base well at least, and so I don't really see why you would take him out of that leadoff spot and take him out of right field. So it's going to be an interesting juggling act for Pedro. To go back to tonight, Shoemaker getting, deserved heat for a bad play in the field. Paul DeJong getting a lot of heat for not going home on that ground ball that ended up that double play. I kind of get why he didn't, but also get why you would argue that he should have as well. But guys, Erick Fedde blew a 5-0 lead. I mean, you talk about, Sean, you set up the fact that, this is where the game unraveled because Braden Shoemaker, makes the error and then 2 walks. He had already given up 3 home runs. I mean, this is a poor performance by Erick Fedde in doing what every pitcher, getting basically whatever every starting pitcher dreams of getting, which is a 5-run lead pretty early in a game. Happened yesterday too, when the White Sox blew that one as well. But, today I think I saw a quote from my colleagues who are out in Cleveland right now saying from Erick Fedde saying this game's on me, and I would tend to agree because you can't cough up a lead that looks so crooked like that.
Yeah, and
real quick, Herb, I just want to talk about Colas before we get into Fedde and just the rest of this game. It does seem like maybe Eloy on this day off will possibly get reactivated, and maybe we don't even see Colas, for the next series. So maybe, Colas, they want to try him out in AAA, and like you said, he's on the 40-man. They don't want to DFA somebody else. Let's call Colas up for a game. He even gets in an at-bat. Maybe that's all we see from Colas for right now. All right, let's get into Fedde and continue. Sorry to cut you off, Herb.
Well, no, I was going to focus more on that play that Paul DeJong didn't go home. I understand infield is in and the ball was hit pretty decently. So I was taught, and this might be different, if that situation arises its head where you have a runner on first and you're a runner at third with no outs or 1 out, you're supposed to get caught up in a double play at the very least, or get caught up in a rundown at the very least, so you don't have the double play for the other 2 guys. And so the worst thing happened where he doesn't go home and you get the double play anyways. When Rocchio turns his back, like at the worst, you have to sprint home right there. He turns his back to go to second and then throws the first, like you have to go home there and get caught up in a double play, get caught up in a rundown so your guys can at least advance into scoring position there instead of that double play that they had there. So, yeah, I thought it was a mistake not to go home. But I got his explanation that it was hit too hard and he didn't want to make the first out at home plate. Understandable, but I was taught different. And he might, he's a Major League Baseball player. He definitely knows much more about baseball than I do.
And give the defender some credit too. I mean, he looked him back to the bag. He did what he was supposed to do well. He was positioned well. It was I think a tough play. I get the idea that once he makes the move to second base, maybe then is when you want to take off. But if you've already moved back, I understand DeJong's explanation. I also understand why folks are not pleased.
Yeah, and then let's get into Fedde here. We also have like about 90 people watching and only around 41 likes. So make sure you're hitting that like button. Let's get a like surge going on. The Bears people have that. So let's have a White Sox like surge, huh? If you haven't hit that thumbs up button, we would appreciate a thumbs up on the video if you're hanging out with us. And again, make sure to leave a comment and subscribe to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. We are reading the comments. And if you got anything that jumps out, I will read it and throw it out there. So the 3 homers are fairly hilarious, like you mentioned. I don't know if it's all on Fedde because the White Sox also get a 6-5 lead in the 10th inning as well. So there's another chance to close that game out and maybe bail out Erick Fedde.
And a lot of chances to score prior to that as well, as we're discussing.
Hell yes, brother. But yeah, the Naylor homer was absolutely smoked. Josh Naylor pimped that one and stared at that one for a long while. And then in the same inning, in the 4th inning, Bo Naylor hits a 2-run shot, makes it 5-3. And then even Stephen Kwan gets in on the action. Hilariously, I remember last year you got a Kopech homer, or Kopech gives up a homer to Stephen Kwan. And it's because it's a fastball that's like 96 up in the zone. So, just any power generated on that is probably going to leave the park. Seeing Stephen Kwan get Erick Fedde is kind of surprising into the deep part of Cleveland as well. So some pretty meatball-y pitches there from Erick Fedde to give up. And it's a fun stat that you retweeted, Vinny. those Naylor home runs. They are the fourth set of brothers since 1961 to hit homers in the same inning. And then there was also a couple prior to that. But you got BJ and Justin Upton in 2013, Billy and Cal Ripken in 1990 and 1996, Tommy and Hank Aaron in 1962, Lloyd and Paul Wainer in 1927 and 1938. They waited 11 years to do it. Josh and Bo did this last year and in 2024. But the favorite one, 1933. Playing for Boston is Rick Farrell, and playing for Cleveland is Wes Farrell. And they're in the same inning, and Rick's homer was off of Wes. So
awesome.
That's just great.
That's one of those only in baseball things, man. I tell you what.
Only in 30s baseball.
And you know what today is, right?
National Sibling Day.
Amazing.
And somehow I know that as an only child. So, I'll give myself some credit there. But yeah, I liked Fedde's outing, and then obviously the power really started to show up the second time through, and all of them are to lefties as well, which is a bit of a concern because you hear about Fedde's sweeper and his sinker. Those pitches are very good against righties, and it doesn't seem like his splitter is effective enough to really get lefties to swing and miss. So Erick Fedde might be powerful enough to get enough swing and misses where the contact that he will give up might be loud if it's in the air. He got a decent amount of ground balls, and hopefully see more and more ground balls from Fedde. But I don't know about that pitch mix and the transition from the KBO to Major League Baseball. Let's get into, first off, Dominic Leone in the seventh. I don't know about trusting Dominic Leone in high leverage. I mean, this is a tie ball game. Herb, I don't know if you feel similarly, but he gets out of it with a nice power changeup at 92. But I saw that, and maybe it's a little bit of, Kopech's not available, so we have to go to someone. But I don't know about Dominic Leone. And we also see Brian Shaw in the 10th inning protecting a 1-run lead, and we see how that went with the loss. So how'd you feel about the bullpen?
I don't really trust Dominic Leone, but what are the alternatives? Who do you bring in? You bring in Davey Garcia, who he brought in the inning after. That guy you really don't trust necessarily. He's gotten touched up a little bit. Steven Wilson earlier in the game in a high leverage situation. Yes, I probably would have went with Steven Wilson because the game is on the line there in the 7th inning. And thankfully for the White Sox, you can use him in the 9th inning, and he does Steven Wilson things there. But I don't know if Pedro thought about maybe stretching out Steven Wilson, because I don't think he threw a lot of pitches in that 9th inning, and you could have maybe extended him into the next inning. He threw 7 pitches. So I was thinking maybe you get the lead, and then you keep Steven Wilson in the game to finish off the game there, instead of going to a guy like Brian Shaw, which he throws every day, but I don't necessarily want to see him when the game's on the line in a save situation, especially versus Jose Ramirez. I was scared as hell on that at bat. I was like, here comes a walk-off home run. And luckily,
that was the guy you didn't have trouble with.
Oh, no. The White Sox haven't had trouble with Jose Ramirez the last couple of days, but that damn Naylor, the Naylors, they cannot be stopped. Like Josh Naylor with the tying double, and then, of course, Bo Naylor with the RBI single to win the game.
Yeah, I mean, we find out after the game, Kopech and Jordan Leisure were both unavailable after the work they did yesterday. John Brebbia is obviously on the injured list right now, so the White Sox bullpen is not exactly, at tip-top shape at the moment. I think Steven Wilson, he could have gone longer, I guess. I don't know. They usually plan out these things pretty far in advance. If you've listened to Pedro for any length of time, they kind of identify what part of the lineup that they want these guys to go after. And I think if they wanted Steven Wilson to go out there and face Jose Ramirez, they would have let him do so. I don't think they wanted to do that in that instance for their own reasons, obviously. But yeah, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, your starting pitcher gave up 5 runs. Maybe Tanner Banks could have stayed in a little longer and pushed everybody down a little bit. But I think you're trying to win the game in 9 innings, not 10. So just probably a tough situation not being able to use Kopech right there.
Yeah, and Matt brings up that Wilson also went yesterday as well. So, I mean, maybe 7 pitches was his max for, today because of the prior workload. Kevin also asking, what does Brebbia's injury look like? We saw a similar injury in spring training, and he was able to recover in about 2 weeks. So maybe, was he officially placed on the 10-day?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe we see after the 10 days that Brebbia does return. He is ramped up for the season, so maybe as long as he's able to, keep his arm loose, he's able to bounce back quickly, but I don't think there's an official timeline there. And then Blake Name brings up basically what you guys already did, but my initial thought on Shaw pitching the 10th was Grifol screwing up. Then I remember Kopech pitched 2 innings yesterday, and remember the other available options, and they aren't much better. I don't love the way the bullpen's shaping out, but also this is a 2-10 team, and they need to score more runs, and that's really the end all be all. And maybe Erick Fedde needs to be a little bit cleaner and not give up 3 solo shots to lefties, and maybe we don't have to worry about Dominic Leone in a tie game or Brian Shaw in the 10th inning.
Well, and remember too, one of those homers was a 2-run shot because with 2 outs, he hit the batter beforehand and extended the inning, allowing the home run to be hit and go for multiple runs.
And Zach the Potato adding some very good commentary. How closer not available? Shaw sucked last year. So, I mean, good points from Zach there. The closer wasn't available because he went 2 innings yesterday. Anyways, 55 minutes in, it seems like a decent time to wrap up. We do have an off day show at 4 p.m. We'll talk a little bit more about Oscar Colas and how the rest of this season will look. Any final thoughts on today's game? Anything else in these 10 innings, these 20 frames of baseball that we didn't touch upon?
No, I just think it was very disappointing. I think I know other losses you've gotten blown out and other losses you've had people come back on you, but this one is just a gut-wrenching one because you had the 5-0 lead. You just learned about the 5-0 lead you had yesterday, and you were able to overcome that. But then this one's gut-punching because it would have been a nice way to have the off day. Okay, we win our first series. Now we're going back home for 6 versus the Reds and the Royals. You got some momentum going, but now same old. You just got 2 wins. That's all you got. And you go back home, and now you got to face the Reds and the Royals, who are both formidable.
And as I thought of yesterday when you mentioned that the Sox are going to be playing the Reds, Michael Kopech gets a day off. He will likely pitch in one of these 3 games, and I hope that we get to see Michael Kopech versus Eloy De La Cruz. And it's either going to be Michael Kopech throwing 102 and Eloy De La Cruz missing on all of them, or it's going to go Joe Borchard territory 500 feet, and it's going to be exciting. The only other thing I wanted to bring up was this 2 Steve Stone quotes. Earlier in the game when Laureano first came up, he said, Laureano fell on some hard times, which I think is him alluding to taking steroids and getting a suspension from Major League Baseball. And then when he was talking about Jose Ramirez, he said, he can swing it. And it's like, yeah, it's a pretty good, pretty inept, thought process there. It's a pretty good. Jose Ramirez can swing it, Steve Stone. That's a good point. Anyways, we're going to wrap it up. That's Vinny Duber, our CHGO White Sox beat writer. Read his work over at allchgo.com and make sure you check out his piece about our headline topic, Yoan Moncada. I guess it wasn't technically our leading topic in Yoan Moncada. Check out his piece for the update on Moncada being out for 3 to 6 months. Follow him at Vinny Duber. Follow Herb at Ecknerwall23. He's our CHGO White Sox community leader. You can follow me at Sean_W_Anderson. Follow the show at CHGO_White Sox. Thank you to Stephen Nicholas, our ISU Redbird, for producing the show, Mr. Hockey himself. And we will talk to you on Thursday at 4 p.m. Goodbye.
We all silly like the mayor.